very good evening and a warm welcome to the news on Rupavahini Channel I. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas.
Good evening, I'm Lakshita Dirasinghe, and to start off, let's take a quick look at the headlines.
The President says wastage at government institutions need to be controlled to enhance productivity. The 11th War Heroes Commemoration Day will be marked tomorrow. The inclement weather devours lives. Heavy rains forecast in the days ahead. A notable development in the share market indices. Preliminary objections to be filed against the petitions challenging the date of the parliamentary elections.
On to those and other stories in detail. Now, today is indeed a historic day for us Sri Lankans. The National War Heroes Commemoration Day marks the conclusion of the Sri Lankan humanitarian operations on the 18th of May 2009 and the end of untold suffering inflicted on the nation by the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, known as LTTE. This Victory Day recalls the tremendous sacrifices made by the military and other security forces to restore normalcy in the country. The day also marks the nation's first step towards the peace and reconciliation process while mending relations between communities to ensure all Sri Lankans can live in dignity and free from discrimination. We now move on to a special report compiled on the remembrance of events that led to the victory of the 30 years of war by the national television.
18th of May marks the capitalization of the liberation of Tamil Eelam as well as the end of the Sri Lankan Civil War. The war in Sri Lanka impacted its tourism, economy, security as well as human cost. The attacks at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in 1996 January resulted in 91 deaths and over 1,400 people injured. What's more important is that urban civilized people were attacked. The Southern Asia was under huge threat, and this iconic location was a prime target when it comes to attacks. A few meters away, towards the Galadari Hotel, there was a 350-kilogram bomb truck that was exploded, targeting an iconic places and killing 15 people in 2007. Number of attacks happened such as this, losing human lives, sacrificing our very own tribe forces who worked hard for the sovereignty of this country.
On July 26, 2006, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, a separatist terrorist militant organization, closed the sluice gates of Mavilaru, blocking access of water to thousands of civilians in the area. This move was highly condemned by the Sri Lankan government, and the Sri Lankan army launched an operation to recapture the Mavilaru area to take the gates under government control. On the 11th of August 2006, the Sri Lankan Armed Forces announced victory over the LTTE and recaptured the sluice gates of the reservoir. This small operation developed into a major offensive by the government forces by August, and on 18th May 2009, military victory was declared over the LTTE terrorist outfit after completely wiping out its leadership. On the 14th of May 1985, a group of LTTE cadres killed more than 120 Buddhist monks, civilians and devotees. 85 people were wounded. On the same day, another LTTE attack on the Wilpattu National Park killed 18 Sinhalese civilians. LTTE attacked the oil storage complexes at Kolonnava and Orugodavatta. LTTE killed 22 security personnel, destroying diesel, kerosene, aviation fuel and crude oil worth millions of rupees. An attack by the LTTE on the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in Colombo killed 91 and injured a further 1,400 civilians, damaging other buildings in the process. The attack took place on the 31st of January 1996. On January 25, 1998, the LTT attacked the Sri Dalada Maligawa, one of the greatest national cultural treasuries in the country. 16 were killed from the attack while injuring over 25 people. The Bandaranaike airport was attacked by the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam on the 24th of July 2001. The Kabithigolava massacre occurred on the 15th of June 2006 when 60 civilians were allegedly killed by an LTT Claymore attack on a bus. On the 12th of August 2005, former minister and Sri Lankan diplomat Lakshman Kadiragama was shot by an LTT sniper in Colombo as he was getting out of the swimming pool at his private residence in Cinnamon Gardens. He stood firmly against LTT terrorism and remained committed to a united Sri Lanka without fearing all threats posed by Tiger terrorists against him. After the humanitarian operations ended the 30 years of war, large-scale rapid infrastructure development initiatives were carried out across the country, especially in northern and eastern provinces. These initiatives resulted in a significant growth in the country, paving the path for many investments to reach the island nation and boost national economic development, while fostering the peace and reconciliation process in the country.
නිමෙත්තයක් ඕනේ මම ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕනේ මම බේර ගන්න ඕනේ රජුට කියන්න ඕනේ අපේ ළමයි ඔක්කොම දෙවිල දෙන්න ඔක්කොම බේර ගන්න ඕනේ
එල්ටි සංවිධානය පිළිගන්නේ නැහැ මේ නායකයා මිය ගිහිල්ලා මිය ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන බව සැබෑ පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් මොහු ජාතියම දෙමළ ජාතියම වෙනසුව
දරුවන් දසදහස් ගණනකට පියවරුන් මව්වරුන් අහිමි කර ඒ වගේම භාර්යාවන් දසදහස් ගණනකට තමන්ගේ සැමියන් අහිමි කළ ක්‍රූරතම ශ්‍රී ලංකා ඉතිහාසයේ බිහි වුණු ක්‍රූරතම මිනිසා ඝාතනය කිරීමට හැකියවීම ගැන පොදුවේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයෙක් විදියටත් ඒ වගේම ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ හමුදා නිලධාරියෙක් විදියටත් මම බොහොම සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා.
අමල් ඇත්තටම මේ ජාතික නාලිකාව අපි මේ ජාතික මෙහෙවරේදී ලොකු කටයුත්තක් කළා. අවසන් වෙඩි හඬයි අවසන් වෙඩි මුරයයි LTT විනාශය LTT නායකයා ඇතුළු රුදුරු ත්‍රස්තවාදියා නැසූ ඒ ධෛර්ය ශක්තිය සංකේතවත් කළ වෙඩි හඬයි නැවත ශ්‍රී ලංකා දීපය තුල වෙඩි හඬයි
හිසට උඩින් වෙඩි උණ්ඩ ගමන් කරද්දී හතර වටේ මෝටාර් කාලතුවක්කු ප්‍රහාර පතිත වෙද්දී බිම්බෝම්බ මර උගුල් ගහන භූමියක සිටයි අප මේ වාර්තා කිරීම සිදු කළේ. මේ සටනේදී ත්‍රිවිධ හමුදා සමාජිකයන් සටන් වැදුනේ Tamanගේ පෞද්ගලික ඉඩමක් වෙනුවෙන් නොවේ. උතුරේත් දකුණේත් සියලු ජාතීන් අද භුක්ති විඳින නිදහස් රටක උරුමය ලබා දීමේ පරම අරමුණින්. එදා යුදබිමේ මාධ්‍යවේදීන් අතින් සිදු වැදගත්ම කාරණය ක්‍රියාත්මක වූ විවිධ බලවේගවල අසත්‍ය ප්‍රචාරයන්ට ඒ වගේම ජයග්‍රහණ අවතක්සේරු කිරීම වලට එරෙහිව සත්‍ය වශයෙන්ම යුදබිමේ සිදුවන්නේ කුමක්ද යන්න පිළිබඳව ජනතාව දැනුවත් කරමින් ආරක්ෂක හමුදාවල ඉදිරි ගමන සමග ජනතාව පෙළගැස්වීමයි සමන් කුමාර ගාමවික්‍රම.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ මෙමන් ස්ථාන කිහිපයක ඔවුන්ව ආදරයෙන් රැක බලාගෙන යනවා. විජයග්‍රහණයේ 11 වෙනි සැමරුමේ යෙදී තිබෙන අද දවසේ මේ ජාතියේ මුර දේවතාවන්ට අපේ ගෞරවය, ආදරය, උත්තමාචාරය මෙලෙස පුද කර සිටිනවා.
In other years, we would find parades as well as 1 minute silence in observance for these heroes. But today, we have another enemy that we are fighting for. And we wait to see till these gates and doors and roads are opened.
Something that changes your life story. Litro Gas.
Our tribute and hearts go out to all the heroes. The ceremony to mark the National War Heroes Commemoration Day will take place opposite the War Heroes Memorial at the Parliamentary Grounds at Battaramulla tomorrow. The chief guest will be the Commander-in-Chief, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Tomorrow marks the 11th National War Heroes Commemoration Day, which pays tribute to the security personnel who lost their lives on behalf of the country while serving in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Police and the Civil Security Force. This year's celebrations have been organized giving priority to health guidelines. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and a number of invitees will be present. Security personnel who made the supreme sacrifice in ending the war against the liberation of Tigers of Tamil Eelam in May 2009 will be commemorated. These heroes include 23,962 Army personnel, 1,160 Navy personnel, 443 Air Force personnel and 2,598 police personnel and 456 personnel of the Civil Security Department. The National War Heroes Day celebration will be aired live on Rupavahini from 4 p.m. tomorrow. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva has decided to award 14,617 promotions within the ranks of the Army alongside celebrations to mark the National War Heroes Commemoration Day. The promotions will be awarded at the commemoration ceremony to be held tomorrow under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. These are the highest number of promotions to be awarded within a single day in the history of Sri Lanka Army.
Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says he does not expect to politicize state institutions, and what should be done is developing such institutions to generate revenue. The President points out in order to enhance the efficiency and productivity of these institutions, cost and wastage needs to be controlled. The President expressed these views at a discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat with senior management officials of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation today. The discussion was convened to evaluate the present operations of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The President advised the senior officials of SLBC that the radio station should identify its listenership properly and produce programs that meet with the taste of its listeners. The President also stated that the employees of SLBC needs to be constantly educated of the situation that the organization is facing and be motivated to work tirelessly for the development of the organization. The President pointed out as state institutions are maintained by people's tax money, these should not be a burden to the public. The President further stated he does not expect revenue generation from the health and education sectors, but other organizations need to generate income for their maintenance and employee welfare. The President observed that due to the spread of COVID-19, countries in the world as well as Sri Lanka are facing a serious economic recession. The President emphasized that at a moment when the employment of hundreds of thousands of persons is lost, heads of organizations in the country need to give priority to the betterment of the country. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says state institutions need to be strategically strengthened, not only to overcome the crisis, but also to effect future economic development. Presidential Secretary P.B. Jayasundara explained the steps that need to be taken to increase revenue under a proper plan. The discussion was attended by Chairman of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation Jagat Wickramasinghe, Director General Chandrapala Liyanage and members of the Board of Directors.
Meanwhile, the Met Department forecasts a further continuation of the showery condition in the southwest stretch of the island and in the western, southern, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces. Heavy falls exceeding 150 millimeters of rain are expected in certain areas. The Met Department in its forecast states that the showers or thunder showers could be expected at several places in the north central, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Mannar district. Meanwhile, the Amphan cyclone has developed into a severe cyclonic system and is positioned in the center of the southern sea areas of the Bay of Bengal. The Met Department states as at 2:30 a.m. today, the severe cyclonic system was positioned 740 kilometers northeast of Trincomalee. In its trajectory, the system is forecast to move into a northern or northerly direction by the day after tomorrow and then move towards the western coast of the Bay of Bengal. The Met Department advises the naval and fishing communities to be alert to the future warnings issued by the department. The National Building Research Organization points out those residing in these areas for which landslide warnings have been issued need to be vigilant. Two deaths were reported when a fishing vessel capsized after setting off from the Kudava fisheries harbour in the Payagala Mangona area this morning. Another fisherman who has sustained injuries in the accident was admitted to the Kalathura District Hospital. A death was reported from the Minnavella village in Kartagas Digalia after the tree upon which the deceased individual was watching over his field was uprooted by strong winds today. Another individual who had also sustained injuries after falling from a hut upon a tree has been hospitalized. Our correspondent states 15 houses have also been damaged. Minister S.M. Chandrasena conducted an inspection in the area and instructed the relevant officials to grant relief to the affected persons. Engineers at hydropower generation plant state with the heavy rains experienced in the catchment areas of the Upper Kotmale Reservoir, one spill gate has opened. All spill gates will automatically open should heavy rains be further experienced in the upper catchment areas of the reservoir. Therefore, the disaster management unit of the area requests those residing in either side of the Kotmale area below the dam of the reservoir to be vigilant. Due to the heavy rains in the hill country, 3 of the 10 spill gates of the Pulgola Reservoir were opened today, releasing a water capacity of 130 cubic meters per second. Due to the heavy rains experienced along the western slopes of the central hills, the water level of the Upper Kotmale, Castle Ray and Mausakale reservoirs has risen. Our correspondent states, in addition, the water capacity of the St. Clair, Devon and Watawala waterfalls has also increased. The Haddon Police advises motorists to be vigilant when driving along the Haddon-Novelli and Haddon-Colombo main roads as landslide risk is prevalent. The water level at the Kaluganga is reportedly rising as a result of heavy rains experienced in the areas as high elevations about the Ratnapura town. The water level of the Kaluganga reached the 4-feet limit on the flood indicator at Pulungupitiya, Ratnapura today. Strong winds that swept across the Hinguragoda, Lankapura, Madragiri and Tamankadua areas in the Polonnaruwa district at around 3 a.m. today have resulted in damages around 70 houses. The disaster management unit of the district states that damages have also been caused to the power supply network in these areas. The cyclonic situation that occurred last evening has resulted in damages to 49 houses and a school building in the Alpitia area in Gaul. The removal of trees have fallen onto houses is underway with the support of the army. The Alpitia Divisional Secretariat states steps will be taken to grant compensation for the damaged houses. Compensation amounts to less than 10,000 rupees were paid today. Strong winds that swept past the Kantala area also resulted in 60 houses sustaining damages. And the Navy today took steps to clear the ways congested under the Vakvela Bridge in Gaul with the objective of controlling a possible flood situation that could arise in the days ahead. A team of divers attached to the Southern Naval Command were deployed on the task.
Now, 21 COVID-19 infected persons were discharged today upon recovering fully. Meanwhile, 5 newly infected persons were detected today. Thereby, the number of patients undergoing treatment at hospitals is 418. The number of COVID-19 patients to have fully recovered so far stands at 559, which is 56%. 42% are undergoing treatment at hospitals. COVID-19 related deaths account for 0.91%. 21 newly infected patients were detected yesterday. 19 of them are security force personnel, whilst the other 2 are from amongst those who were sent for quarantine upon arrival in the country from London recently. Director General of Health Services Consultant Dr. Anil Jasinghe says as at today, the number of fully recovered patients exceeds the number of patients undergoing treatment at hospitals. Dr. Jasinghe also stated 254 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. 336 samples were obtained from amongst the public, while 225 samples were obtained from quarantine centres, with samples taken from other sources as well. Dr. Jasinghe added close upon 45,000 PCR tests have been conducted in Sri Lanka so far. A group of 18 persons who were sent to the Mihintale quarantine centre completed their quarantine yesterday. They are family members of infected security personnel. They will undergo a further 14-day period of self-quarantine at their homes. Meanwhile, a group of 52 individuals who underwent quarantine at the quarantine facility run by the Army at the Faculty of Technology of the University of Moratuwa at Diagama Homagama were discharged and left for their homes today. The total group that underwent quarantine at this facility had 259 persons. 22 individuals who completed their quarantine at the Nachikuda quarantine centre run by the Navy in Mannar were discharged today. Measures to fly back Sri Lankans stranded in other countries are continuously underway. According to the Contact Sri Lanka portal of the Ministry of Foreign Relations, 38,983 migrant Sri Lankans are hoping to return to the island. They include students across 143 countries, short-term visa holders, migrant workers and their dependents and dual citizens. They will be flown back, giving priority to the process to identify risk-prone groups. In this manner, 3,600 migrant Sri Lankans from 15 countries have been flown back as of today. Now back at home, except for the Colombo and Gampaha districts, curfew imposed in other areas was lifted at 5 a.m. today and was reimposed at 8 p.m. Special transportation facilities were made available for those attached to essential services. Employee attendance in both the public and private sectors was reportedly at a satisfactory level. In addition to passengers who had made prior reservations, a limited number of passengers were allowed to travel by train upon purchasing tickets from the counters at railway stations. The Department of Railway states paying adherence to health guidelines, steps were taken to transport passengers by train equivalent to the number of seats available. Meanwhile, the Kinya Aziza Foundation of the Hassan Maulavi Good Works Association engaged in the distribution of dry rations to rural areas of the Trincomalee district recently. The rations were distributed amongst the areas of Kalmune, Mulatiu, Topor and other villages in close proximity. The task was initiated under the guidance of the directors of the Aziza Foundation, Tariq Hassan and Sadiq Hassan. This foundation was initiated by former Eastern Provincial Council member, the late Marhum Hassan Maulavi, for the benefit of the underprivileged. The foundation is continuously supported by the German Muslim Helpers Institution.
Meanwhile, the fundamental rights petitions filed in the Supreme Court challenging the Gazette notifications on holding the parliamentary election on the 20th of June and on the dissolution of Parliament by the President were taken up for consideration today. The Attorney General and the attorneys appearing on behalf of the Presidential Secretary appraised the Supreme Court today that preliminary objections will be filed with regard to these fundamental rights petition. Meanwhile, over 10 petitions against these fundamental rights petitions have also been filed. These petitions are being taken up for hearing before a 5-judge bench comprising Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya and Justices Bhuwanaka Alvihare, Sisira Diabru, Priyantha Jayawardena and Vijit Malalgoda, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Indika Devmani De Silva, and appearing on behalf of the Presidential Secretary P.B. Jayasundara, President's Counsel Ramesh De Silva, and he stated that they expect to file preliminary objections regarding the fundamental rights petition challenging the Gazette notifications. Thereafter, appearing on behalf of the petitions that include Attorney at Law Charitha Gunaratna and journalist Victory Ivan, President's Counsel M.A. Sumantiran presented details in court. President's Counsel Sumanthiran pointed out currently as the general elections could not be held on the 25th of April and the new parliament could not be convened on the 14th of May, the Gazette notification issued by the President dissolving parliament becomes null and void. Rising during the proceedings, appearing on behalf of the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Indika Devmani De Silva stated that the preliminary objections will be filed. The Additional Solicitor General argued that the non-citing of the proper parties as respondents in the petitions is a serious fault, and also that the petitions have been filed after the expiry of the proper time period. She hopes to present details in this regard in her objections. Appearing on behalf of the Presidential Secretary B.B. Jayasundara, President's Counsel Ramesh De Silva said much of the content of the petitions is misled and inaccurate. The Chief Justice stated that details pertaining to the preliminary objections will be considered later. President's Counsel M.N. Sumanthiran further pointed out, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, at a moment when the public life is at risk, the holding of a free and fair elections is practically difficult. After the points presented by the President's Counsel M.A. Sumanthiran, the hearing of the petitions was postponed to 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says the government's objective is to create a prosperous nation based on the Vision of Prosperity Manifesto. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, Dr. Gunawardena expressed his views in response to a statement voiced by leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says at the lapse of this time period, the vision of prosperity on building the nation will be in place. He says this government has undertaken the task as a government that properly demonstrated a specific plan in the past. Dr. Gunawardena noted as a result of the economic leap after the conclusion of the war, the international community regarded Sri Lanka as a middle-income earning country. The minister says the statement voiced by former Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe on the printing of money is baseless. The minister also emphasized that the new cricket stadium at Homagama is being constructed according to a plan of the Sri Lanka Cricket Institute and the International Cricket Council. The minister says the government is not spending any funds on this construction and only the 26-acre land area has been allocated for this purpose. News from overseas coming your way after this short break. That's all the stories for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time.